In my last video, I talked about how Todd Phillips said that he stopped making comedy films because of Twitter backlash. Now, I'm pretty sure it's safe to say that when we all read this quote, we were all collectively the eye roll emoji. And a lot of people asked, why did I even bother defending Todd Phillips' view when his quote was so petty? Well, my goal wasn't to necessarily defend Todd Phillips, it was to show how destructive cancel culture can be. And if you haven't seen that video, I spent $20 on that wig, and it was $20 too much, as you can see. So if you want to make it feel worth my time, go and check out that video. The link's in the description. So if Todd Phillips said something petty, then why not be outraged? Unless... oh no. You just want us to all get along and hold hands, don't you? Don't worry, it has nothing to do with that. Instead, it has to do with where are we putting our energy? I know I spend a lot of my energy being outraged on the internet. And mostly, this just leads me to being exhausted. Despite my outrage, it wasn't that long ago when I used to say the hateful things that I get outraged about today. I used to think that trans people weren't valid. I used to think that trans people wanted to change their chromosomes when I just didn't really understand what gender was. However, I was really lucky because I would have trans friends who would explain to me their experience, or I would watch YouTubers who would tell me about what being trans meant to them. And eventually, over time, a lot of these really ignorant ideas that I had started to just melt away. And so for me, becoming less ignorant was a very gentle and mind-opening experience. Now, compare this to a theoretical experience of perhaps the comedian Dave Chappelle. Perhaps his only exposure to talking about trans issues is getting yelled at in person or on Twitter. And while it's true that their lack of exposure to these issues leads to lazy jokes that are very hurtful, their only experience of discussing these issues is just getting yelled at. And if they only get yelled at, they'll never have a fighting chance at understanding what we're mad about. And I know what you're probably thinking. Whoa, whoa, whoa. You said that this wasn't gonna be the let's all just get along and hold hands talk. I'm getting there, okay? The most important reason in understanding where these people are coming from is because it helps us not to waste our energy on being outraged. This isn't to say that people's words can't ostracize us or, hurt us or lead to physical violence. They can and do. What I am trying to point out is that oftentimes our outrage is a massive waste of our energy. When we're outraged, we are telling ourselves that this person that we're mad at is the villain of our narrative. And if we could just get rid of people like this, then we could finally be happy. And to make someone the villain of your narrative is giving them a lot of power over your own happiness. And so I've found that the remedy to this is to take a closer look. When we see where that person is coming from, we usually see that they're coming from a place of ignorance. Their words are hurtful, yet empty. And when you understand that, then the person simply can't be the villain of your story. They're just some dumbass online. Understanding it this way allows us to not waste our energy on being outraged. Again, not to say that their words aren't hurtful, but they're said out of a place of misunderstanding. And understanding that takes a lot of the drama and pain away. You see that they don't need to be banished, they probably just need exposure to people who are different than them. When I was really ignorant, it helped me to listen to people's stories who had different experiences than me. So maybe instead of canceling and banishing people from being ignorant, maybe we can try to show them the same resources that helped our own ignorance. After all, we didn't all start off our lives being free of homophobia, racism, and sexism. I think that showing people resources and media that helped us be more open-minded is helpful, because it still recognizes that an ignorant statement was made, it still calls that person out, but it does it in a way that they can hopefully listen to. And most importantly, we can be on the internet and still speak our minds without constantly being exhausted. Don't get me wrong, anger is a very important emotion that we need to listen to, and I would like to make a video essay later talking about the uses of anger. However, a lot of times we don't put our anger to good use and are just exhausted by it. I'm really glad that when someone says something ignorant, we do call people out on it, but I do think that we have to use our energy wisely, and somehow we have to figure out how to communicate. Even on the internet. So I hope that instead of canceling people, we can start to try to show people media, stories, and resources that helped us open up to other people's human experiences. And so that's what my last video was really about. Let me know if you think this is a good solution, and if you do, please share and subscribe.